Commissioner Goodell, Darren McKee, 104.3 The Fan in Denver. In light of Pat Bowlen's health issues, he has given over day-to-day control of the Broncos ownership, and Joe Ellis has done a wonderful job running the team. However, in the trust that he set up, one of the Bowlen children is to get ownership of the Broncos. Beth Bowlen is clearly the most qualified candidate in terms of age and experience, while the other adult children that are qualified are younger. So it's unlikely things are going to change in this situation for the foreseeable future. What is the NFL doing to ensure a proper transfer of ownership to the most qualified of the Bowlen children to go along with what Pat Bowlen wanted?
Well, Darren, I think it goes back first to the last point you made. You made a lot of points there that some of which I'd agree and some of which I wouldn't. But the focus is what Pat Bowlen wanted and how he set this up. Having been very close to Pat, I care very much about him, his family, his health, and he was an extraordinarily important person to the NFL when he was active in the league, and he continues to be somebody that we all admire and care for his health. Second, he was very active in making sure that he did exactly that, which is how do I make sure that the Broncos franchise continues to be successful? I want it to be a point of pride for the people in the Denver community and Colorado. I want it to be something that the NFL is proud of, my partners are proud of, meaning the other 31 clubs. He's done an extraordinary job of setting that up. Those decisions, many of which you discussed in your question, I think are all questions that the trustees have to decide. They are in compliance with our rules. They have been very thoughtful. They have done a terrific job of leading that franchise over the last several years as Pat's focused on his health issues. And I think Pat put that in place because of the care and focus and the importance of the Broncos to him and making sure that it would continue to be in the right hands and with the right kind of leadership. Yes.
Hi, Commissioner. My name is Manasir Boina. I'm the NFL Play 60 Super Kid. My question to you is, many people look up to you as a role model and an inspiration. Do you have an inspiration or role model you look up to?
Well, that's very nice. I would tell you that I've been very fortunate in my life to have a lot of role models. And I would encourage, and I just met with my local high school on career day, and I spent a lot of time talking about this. In life, you have a lot of role models, hopefully. You have a lot of people that are mentors and people who help you along the way. And I certainly wouldn't have the opportunity to be here without a lot of people who supported me, helped me, guided me, told me when I was wrong, and I still do. And I'm very fortunate to have that. So I guess I would tell you, I'd encourage you to have as many people in your life who will help you think through the challenges that you'll have undoubtedly in life, and make sure that you're getting the right perspective. And not just the perspective you want, but the perspective you need. And make sure that that helps guide you along the way, because it's important in life to make sure that you're making the best possible decisions, and the only way you can do that is with a lot of people helping you along the way.
Roger, Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, and last year's NFL Play 60 Super Kid. Eagles receiver Torrey Smith became the latest player yesterday to express frustration that Colin Kaepernick does not currently have a job in the NFL. Have you had any contact with Colin? And considering that teams make the decisions about who's on their roster, is there anything you could or would do to try to facilitate him having another opportunity?
Hey, Tom, listen, I've been very clear on this before that all the clubs individually have to make their own decisions about who's on the roster, who's not on the roster. Colin, as you know, has filed a grievance, so I'm not going to talk specifically about that case. But I think that's something that the clubs have to make that decision. And, you know, we as a league do not get involved with that in any way. So I don't anticipate that in any way.
Good day, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, I'm missing you. Okay.
Good day, Commissioner. Alvin Whitney, CNN Sports.
Alvin?
Recently, Brett Favre was actually this week was interviewed about the safety of the game, and his response was, "You just don't play. The helmet can do but so much." What are the plans for the NFL to make the game safer from the youth level all the way up to the NFL levels when the Hall of Famer is saying don't play?
Well, I don't think that's exactly the way the interview went as I heard it, but I would tell you that this has been a major focus for us in trying to make our game safer at our level and all the way through every level of football down to Pee Wee football. Part of that comes in the training of coaches, the using the proper techniques, whether they're tackling, running, catching, making sure that we have the best possible equipment, and that involves investing in research to make sure that the equipment advances so that we can do that. And I think you've seen those changes. I think they've had dramatic impact across all levels of football. And I just said this to our local high school team recently, that the game of football is much safer than when I played it. But that's part of our responsibility, and we take that seriously. And it's something we'll continue to focus on and make our game the great game that it is, but also as safe as possible.
2 more questions?
Hi, Roger. Michael Gelkin, Las Vegas Review-Journal. The Raiders are slated to play a home game internationally for the 4th time in 5 years this October. As you might imagine, this isn't the most popular of trends in the Bay Area, where Raiders fans are slated to lose their team in a couple of years to relocation, and they want to see as much of their team as possible before they leave the market. What do you say to those fans, and what is the importance of that resolution for teams that are part of the relocation process to commit to playing home games abroad?
Well, it's part of what we all agreed is 32 clubs, which is what dictates that we want to continue to share our game with our fans on a global basis. Clubs have been very anxious to do that. I think in the UK, at the end of this season, I think we'll have 30 of the 32 teams that have played in the UK. I think that's terrific for our game. I think it's terrific for our clubs, and I think it's great for the fans. So yes, that comes with sacrificing from time to time home games. Yes, the Raiders have had more of their international games recently. That's a fact, and it's correct. And it's true that we have teams in transition, as you point out, from temporary stadiums to long-term facilities. We do the best of balancing that. The Raiders are an attractive team globally. We know how much and how passionate the fans are there in Oakland. We want to deliver that as much as possible, but we also want to continue to expand our game.
Last question.
Roger, Jason Winnick of Dallas Sports Source. You mentioned 5 years ago when I asked about innovation that it's a big part of everything the NFL does, and that certainly includes international growth. With respect to China, what do you envision the league achieving there within the next 7 years, despite having to play by their terms, their rules, their regulations, and having to innovate on the small provincial level rather than innovating quickly on a big national scale like the NFL is capable of doing in other places?
Well, Jason, you play by the rules that you've been given, for one. Two is, I think actually our opportunities are even greater now than they were 5 years ago. And it's because of that innovation, it's because of technology. We now have the ability, and our relationship with Tencent is a great example of that, where we can get direct to consumers. We can deliver our content, our games through various technology, through media platforms that fans didn't have the opportunity to get before. And so that's a great advantage for us and for, frankly, all content. And we plan to continue to aggressively do that. We had tremendous spikes this year from the first year of our deal with Tencent. And we think that what we're doing is working. Would we like to accelerate that? Yes, but that's what you work with great partners, particularly in China. That's something that we'll do, and I think we'll have better results over the next 5 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner.